Welcome back to another video here. We are making, or we have created, a Goblin creation for standard, or not standard, for modern. And it's got some interesting cards in it, or you can class it historic or whatever in that sense. I'm not sure 100% if they're all legal in modern format, but I will look that up before, if I ever play it in a tournament or something along those lines. But for now, as you can see, Crinkle Warboss is the number one card on the top here. He's, if he stays on the board, it gets kind of deadly when you play against, when you have a Goblin deck like this. Because all you do is tap him and create one Goblin token creatures for the X is the number of goblins you control. So if you already have 5 goblins out, you're making 5 more goblins. So yeah, he is pretty strong. But then you got the Crinkle Tin Street Kingpin. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep him here. I have taken him out of other decks that I've created in the past, but this one here is you put +1/+1 counter on it when it attacks, and then create 1/1 Goblin token creatures due to Crinkle's power. This would be good if you know your opponent doesn't have many creatures out, and you're attacking and you build these guys up a little bit faster. No problem. But you've got other cards like Goblin Trashmaster. It helps with the ability of him. It already gives him an additional 1/1, so he'll be a 2/3 when these guys are out, because other goblins you control get +1/+1. And if there's a stubborn artifact or something like that you want to get rid of in the game, you can always sacrifice a goblin to destroy target artifact. So that's what these guys are for. Legion war bosses, they're good in a couple of different ways. They produce you a creature without casting a new creature every turn. They must attack every turn, which is a drawback. So you can't just build up an army, and unless they have a card out that all your creatures come in played tapped, which is a minor pain in the butt, but there are cards out there that do that. This one, if it attacks, it mentors another creature, which it gives it a +1/+1 counter on it, if it has lesser power than the war boss. So yeah, usually I'll put 4 of them in there, no problems. The bonus cards are the best cards that I found, and I might add, I think I've got more of them to add in here. Goblin Warchief is one of the stronger cards I've ever seen in a Goblin deck, just because it gives haste, and your mob boss. So basically, the combo that I like to do here is you got the Goblin Warchief, which knocks down the casting cost of your goblins. So now your Crinkle mob boss costs 3 to bring out, but with the other bonus is goblins you control have haste. So you can play him right away, tap him on the same turn you bring him out, and produce a mass amount of goblins. So that's the bonus for the Goblin Warchief. So if you have 5 goblins out, you're going to have 10 goblins by the end of your turn. And that's really, it gets quite hairy, and that's really the amount of goblins you can create in a short period of time. This one here, it's an early 2 creature spell. So whenever you cast this, the Goblin Instigator, you create an additional 1/1 Goblin token. Costs 2 to bring out. Now you have two goblins with 1 spell. This one here, Goblin War Party. One of 2 scenarios is you can create 3 red goblin token creatures if you want, or you can basically creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain haste until end of turn, which is another bonus. So if you don't have the Goblin Warchief out, you can play this sorcery giving your goblins haste. If you play the entwine cost, which is an additional 3 mana, choose both if you pay the entwine cost. So 7 mana, you get to do both. But I think it would be good later in the game if you want to actually do some damage to somebody. Goblin Ramble Master. Somebody mentioned this one to me when I was playing a Goblin deck last year. One of the drawbacks to the Ramble Master is says other Goblin creatures you control attack each turn if able. So I don't know if that's good, but some of its other parts it casts a cost of 3, no problem. But it says at the beginning of combat of your turn, put a red Goblin creature token with haste onto the battlefield. No problem. But it says when Goblin Ramble Master attacks, it gets +1/+0 until end of turn for each attacking Goblin. So that is good. It has its good and it has its bad. Because if you're forced to attack with all your Goblin creatures, you could lose creatures like your Goblin War Chief and that sort of thing in the attack. But if you're going forth to attack and destroy them, if you're going to win, if everything attacks, then it's no problem. So there's only one of them in here. But I want to add more of these in here if I can find more. Goblin Aura Flame. It says attacking creatures you control get +1/+0. It's an enchantment. It's decent when you're attacking in that sort of sense, to go forth and get an additional bump to your token creatures. We have basically Lightning Bolt help, just in case there's a creature or you want to end the game or something along those lines. You got your Lightning Bolts to finish them off. But you have this enchantment, and this is one of them that I do like. It has its bonuses and its drawbacks, of course, again. It says at the beginning of your upkeep, create a Goblin token creature with haste. So it'll attack every turn. But it says Goblin creatures attack each turn if available. So you're forcing your attack every turn. But you're also getting a 1/1 Goblin token creature with haste every turn. So if you have all 4 of them out in play, that's creating 4 token creatures every turn. So you at least get a few of them. Here's good blocking creatures at the beginning part of a game. Second turn, you go forth and make 2 Goblin tokens. It's reasonable. Basically, they're just simple blocking creatures if you don't have anything to bump them up or anything like that. But it also could be quick damage against your opponent as well. If you're creating 2 Goblin tokens a turn, or that turn, or the following turn you can attack with them, and you get Goblin Orange Flame out there, it helps. And then you get a Hordling Outburst, and it says put 3 red Goblin token creatures into play. No problem. As well as you get, this is all geared towards Goblin tokens by the looks of things. Then Dragon Fodder, put 2 1/1 Goblin creature tokens into play onto the battlefield. And then you got another set of them is Goblin Gathering. Is another one. Create a number of red 1/1 Goblin token creature into play. But you also get equal to 2 plus the number of cards named Goblin Gathering in your graveyard. So if you've already cast 3 of them, and you play this one, you now get 5 instead of 2, which is kind of good. So later in a game, if you want more goblins and that sort of thing, if you're still fighting your opponent because they've decided to play a life gain deck or something along those lines, and you got to take them out somehow, that's goblins everywhere for what I've seen. The only drawback, again, in regards to my decks that I've created, is draw. I don't have any draw in these decks, and I've got to figure out how to get that added into solid red decks. I know risk factor is one. I'm sure there's other ones out there, but yeah, that's my Goblin deck that I've created for Modern. I'm hoping that they're all Modern legal, I'm going to have to go online and just do a quick check and verify that the cards that I have here are all legal to play Modern. But I'm sure nobody's listening by the end of this video. But I will be making more videos. I think I have one more deck to show off that I've created out of the cards that I've owned. And that's it for now. Have a good night.